Hey guys, in this video we're going to set up some nice animation for sitting down and also standing up, and while we're sitting down we're going to rest and regenerate health. First thing we will need is a couple of the animations. So this is the first one, sitting idle, and then this is the second one, which is stand to sit. So it goes from standing position to sitting position, and both of them are from Mixamo. I have already retargeted them to Unreal Engine. If you want to download it, you can get it from the link in the description. That will save us actually some work, and just import them to Unreal, select SK Mannequin, and as you can see I have created a new folder in animations called sit, and I have them here. So first thing I want to do is test them out. So we can just go to player, and somewhere in event graph, got event graph here. I'm going to create keyboard events for testing, T for example, and then play montage in mesh. And for montage I'm just going to create montage from this stand to sit. Right click, create any montage, open it up, and then we can also drag in the sitting idle. Just drag it into graph, that will add it after, and now you can see we do have both one after the other. So we can go to player, in montage to play, I'll select it, compile and save, and now if I go to play the game, press T, I'm actually sitting down, but then you can see the jump when we switch to idle animation because they are not positioned correctly. So what we need to do is actually position it ourselves. Best way to check is I'm going to drag out idle animation. That is just the default one I like to use. Then Ctrl and D, do not move this, we want to have them on the same position. And then for the first one I'm going to select the asset which is stand to sit. And for second one I'm going to select asset which is sitting idle. And then you can see this is the difference because this one actually plays from where the character is standing, like that. So we only need to fix and match the feet to the same position. So if I were to just remember this 1503, and just move this one, $15.53, I think they're pretty much just offset by 50 centimeters or points, whatever you want to call them. So what we can do now is go to sequencer and just position this sitting animation, because this one standing one is correct, it goes from the character and it sits down. So we need to position this one back by 50. So let's open sequencer. I don't have one here in this map, so I'm going to add one. Can reuse this one here, and then I'm just going to remove this idle 2, select this idle 1, add actor to sequence, idle, remove control rig. For animation I'm going to add sitting idle, move this to the end of the animation. Make sure you're actually on the last frame, because if you are not, then what happens is when you export the animation it will jump between different positions, because he is actually slightly moving, so you don't want to have like junky animation. So move it to the end, and now right click on this idle, bake to control rig, CR mannequin body, create. Now we have keys. Make sure you do have this create key selected when you change a value, and we just need to move him back by 50. So we can select this global, and here on location I can do -50. There we go. That's pretty much it. Now the key is saved on the position 0, but then if you go to frame 1 it is still on the same one. So we will open these keys, and here I can already see there is location Y, which we have moved. So first key that we moved is down here, and rest of them are up here, so we can just remove them, select all of them, delete. Save it, and I will rekey everything else for just this position. So now throughout the whole animation I'm offset by 50. So we can go to idle, right click, bake to control rig, bake animation sequence, go to your third person and animations, sit, and this one will be sit underscore idle. Export, and we have correct animation now. What we can do is go to sit, open that montage. Now I'm going to change this one to new sit idle. And you can see there is only like little jump of the position of the bones, but apart from that the character is not actually moving. So which is good because we can fix that little jump. And for now we can remove this one because we'll be using only one animation. Save all just so we don't lose the progress. And then let's create a montage from, I'm going to actually delete this sitting idle after I remove these two. Delete, delete, close the sequencer, save all, and now I'm going to delete it. Now right click on the sit idle, create montage. Now we have both, save all, and then in the player instead of this T, I can leave it here for now, I'm going to create custom event, and this one will be sit down, and then we can duplicate, and the second one will be stand up. And in this event I can copy this animation, play it, and then after this one is finished we want to play one more animation. So on completed I'm going to do second one. First one will be stand to sit, and then second one will be sit idle. We could do it in one animation, so same way as I did, just drag them out and they will be playing one after the other, and you can set them with the separate part of the animations, that which one you want to play over and over, which one you want to loop. But then it's harder to fix that jump between them. I want to make it really smooth. So instead we'll create two like this, and we also want to enable root motions. We need to do that on the animation itself, not on the montage. So open this one, enable root motion, then on this animation enable root motion. Then on the montage, which is idle, we want to go to montage sections, here click on this one and do default, which will loop it. And now we have this set up. We need a way to actually call this sit down. So we need to create something like chair. For that, again, first I'm going to create a box that we can sit on. I can just drag in this sit idle, go to modeling tools, create new box. Here I'm going to change it to current folder, because otherwise it just creates it somewhere. And select the folder with meshes. So meshes, right click, new folder, chair. Even though this will be just a box, but we can save it here. And now we can just resize this box. So height 50, only like 40. Yeah, that's good. And then we can do 40 and 40 on each side. Or maybe 50 on these ones. 50 and 50. 50 and 50. Accept. And now we do have this chair box, which will be, that's what I'm going to call it, chair box underscore SM. And then let's go back to selection, third person, blueprints, actors. We do have base interactable actor. Right click, we're going to create child blueprint class again. This one will be chair underscore BP. And this one has functionality for interact and everything. So here in event graph, we can get player reference. Also in the interface, select interact, double click, and then we're going to call, what was it? Sit down. So now when we actually, here in the static mesh, I can also select the chair box. There we go. So now when I interact with it, I should be able to, I need to get rid of this guy. It's blocking my chair. It's not interacting. Why is it not interacting? Because that is not a chair. This is a chair box, my bad. Drag out the actual chair. And then we can have a pickup none. I sit down, obviously I'm not in the right position, and I sit down. Right. Now what we need to do is position the player. So in the chair itself, we're going to create a new scene component. So add scene component, just scene. Make sure it's a child of the static mesh. And don't rotate this or anything, but we're going to just drag it out here. This is the front. We can also select the static mesh and add arrow, so we know where the front is. And this scene, yeah, I'm just going to leave it somewhere here. We can reposition it after, but as I said, just don't rotate it, because that will mess it up. So compile and save. And now we need to pass this scene either the location and rotation, or we can just pass the scene component itself, which is scene component object reference. So let's go to player. On this stand up, I'll create input, scene object. What am I doing? Scene component object reference. This one will be scene position. They did the wrong one. My bad. It needs to go to sit down. So here, scene component is already selected, and this will be scene position. I'm going to call it enter scene, because it's not the position itself, it's enter scene position. Now we're going to get world location, get world rotation, location and rotation, move this all the way back here somewhere. We will need all the space, and we need to set actor location, which will be us, set actor rotation, and let's do rotation first. So from the rotation, I also want to do it nicely. This time I don't want the player to just teleport to the position. I want to do it with the timeline, so it goes nice and smooth. So let's right click, add timeline. Doesn't matter, it can be called timeline. Double click, change the length to 1, add track, add flow track. This track will be sit. I'm going to right click, add key 0 and 0, and then right click, add another key, which will be 1 and 1. Make sure it fits, and then I'm going to select both of the keys because I don't want to have a linear float, linear curve, and I'm going to do user, which will make it nice and smooth. Compile and save. Go back to event graph. I'm going to close this. open things. And here in the event graph, we will do play from start. On update, we want to set actor rotation, set actor location, but make sure you don't connect this play montages here, because we don't want to be trying to play the montage every time it does updates. So we won't even play it on finished, but we'll set it up later. Let's just do rotation first. So we need to split it here, right click, split it. For rotation, we have the rotation, we need to get actor rotation. So current rotation, and only thing we want to rotate is, if I go to chair and viewport scene, so when we're rotating, we don't want to rotate this one, which is pitch. We don't want to rotate roll, we only want to rotate the Z value basically, so yaw. So in the player, to rotate only Z value, we'll get actor rotation, can't speak, lerp rotator, this one goes to sit to alpha, and we go from A, split this, and Z only, sorry, B, you need to right click and split again. So we're only changing the Z value from the scene component, and rest of them will be from actor. So break rotator, just drag out and break it, and then X and pitch is the same. Now somehow I want to make it look nice, even though it's already a bit of a mess. And return value goes to here, so recombine. Yeah, that should be it. Location, again we need to do lerp, this time vector. It will go from A, which is actor location, so get actor location, so that's our current location, and we need to go to B, but again we don't want to rotate everything. So if we have player location, we want to go left or right, but we don't want to get Z, we don't want to go up or down, so only these two. So in event graph, right click, split the B, and where we have location, so right click, split it, and we need to connect X, Y, and then from here we need to break it and connect Z, so that stays the same. Alright, now let's make it a little bit more organized. First of all, I'll move the whole thing down. I'll move this vector up, rotator. This will be for rotation and for location. Will work somehow. And then don't forget to connect the location as well. And lerp, yeah, it's connected. Here, select shortest part as well, so you don't rotate the other way. And then here we want to, as I said, we don't want to play the montage on update, but we want to play it at the same time while we're moving towards the target, because if we don't start playing it at the same time, this takes 1 second to move, and if we are already in front of the chair, that will be 1 second when we don't do anything and it doesn't look good. So we want to start it at the same time with sequence. First one goes to timeline, second one goes to play montages. Now we'll go down here, compile and save. So now let's test it out. Play. I don't think I connected the component in the chair. Event graph. Yeah, scene needs to be connected. And then if you play the game, sit down. So he's sitting down. But as you can see, there is a couple of the jumps that we have there during the animation. I can't stand up now, but so if I start sitting down, you can see there is one jump there, and then there is second jump where it's blending between stand to sit and idle. So it's trying to return to normal position. So we need to fix both of those things. First of them is because it's colliding with the box itself. But we will fix that later actually, because instead of the box we will add some static mesh of a chair or something. And second animation is because it's not blending smoothly between them, because it doesn't actually have time. It's replaying one montage after the another. But there is a way to go around it. So what we need to do, I'm just going to compile and save. And for that, what we're going to use is animation function called Inertialization. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it's called Inertialization. This. And what this allows us to do is blend a little bit more smoother between the montages based on like the current movement as well. So obviously that when we're blending between the montages, it's trying to stand up and stuff. But then if we enable this inertialization, then that will actually take the movement of the character that he's actually sitting down already into account, and it will prevent most of those issues. So to enable that, we need to go to animation blueprint. So from the mesh, we can just search for it, ABP money, and we need to add it here after the default slot, and this will be inertialization, which is already preset for us. All we have to do is connect it here to default slot, and then back to control rig, compile and save. And now that in itself won't do anything, but on these montages, so select open the first one, we do have this blend mode in and blend mode out. What we want to do is do inertialization on both of them, then go to this second one, use the inertialization, and now when we sit down, it will be the first jump, but the second one is completely eliminated, and as you can see, he sits down absolutely smoothly. There is nothing there. I'll show you one more time. Sit down, and he's sitting. Right, so that's what it does. And now we can just prevent the second issue as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the chair from Fab. Just search for some chair. I'm going to look for medieval chair. Medieval chair, price free. Whatever this one, first one, Gothic chair. Add to project. Did it add it? Yeah. Okay. So medieval Gothic chair. All right. So what we want to do with this chair is just go to the chair blueprint. Here we're going to add static mesh. This one won't be a child of this mesh. This will be the actual chair that we can change in the game and resize to anything we want. So it doesn't need to be the same chair over and over. We'll have the same functionality. But for now, I'm going to set it to this medieval chair. But as you can see, our box is much smaller. So what we want to do is also resize this one. So it's the same. Now, on this box itself, on this static mesh, I'm going to turn off the collision. So collision, no collision. And generate overlap. We can do that on chair itself. Generate overlap events. So turn it off here and turn it on here on this chair itself. And now on this collision on the chair as well, I want to do custom, ignore camera so it doesn't block the camera, and we're going to ignore pawn just so I can show you how the animation is going to look without colliding it with this chair a little bit. So now we have the chair created. Also what we can do is in this chair I'm going to hide this static mesh, so hidden in game. This will just be a placeholder so you can know where you have your chair before you actually set the static mesh. So if we play the game now, you can see I can now sit down from the wrong side though, but there is no jump whatsoever. What I wanted to do is this chair itself needs to be rotated. So rotate 90 degrees. There we go. You can do it by default in modeling tool very quickly. So, and now if we sit down, much smoother as you can see. But we're a little bit too far ahead. So what we can do is I'm going to select the scene. Just move it down. Now I'm sitting down nicely. So what we can just set up is standing up. And for standing up, what we need to do is first we need to know if you're actually sitting on a chair, so we need to set up the variable. Let's create new boolean. This will be is sitting. And we need to set it here, but not on completed, but when it starts. So just continue from here, it will be true. So basically after the sit animation finishes and this one starts, we are sitting. Then we do have stand up setup, so we can go to movement. So movement, note if you have this one, if not, just find your enhance input move. And here, before this, I'm going to do one more branch. Okay, this is becoming really messy and it's going to be probably easier with either tags or switch. We might do a switch. Do false, connect here. And now, if we're sitting on true, we're going to stand up. So we press any key, we will stand up, but we can only stand up on the end of the animation, on the end of the sitting down animation. And on stand up, we need to play montage again. We want to not just like jump up again. So we're going to copy this. Play montage. And here we're going to do it once only, because if you're holding a key or if you keep pressing the key, it will start this animation over and over again. So we will do it once, and then on completed we will reset it. And also on completed we need to turn off is sitting. I think that is it. So for the montage, so weird thing about it here is if it is time to sit and do -1, this doesn't seem to work very well. I don't know why that is, but I'll show you. So if I sit down now and then press any key, see I just jump up. So on the montages, I don't know, I seem to have a problem. I'm not sure why with it, because it should work with the play rate. But instead I'm just going to duplicate this animation itself, not the montage. Stand to sit, duplicate, and this will be sit to stand. Open it up. Here I'm going to do -1, probably faster, so -1.5. Yeah, -1.5 or 1.4, doesn't matter. And then right click, create animontage, and this will be the same name. We need to open it up, and again I'm going to set this blend mode. Inertialization, save it, and then we will set it up here. Sit to stand, compile and save. And now if I go sit up, sit nicely. If I go stand up, I don't stand nicely. Why I don't stand nicely? Root motion, probably. So sit to stand, I don't think it has root motion. It does have root motion. Let's see. Alright, okay. Play rate needs to be 1, not -1. That's why. So now I should be able to like run. Then sit down on a chair nicely. Sit down, nothing happens. Stand up, and I slowly stand up. Beautiful. And you obviously can't move or anything else because you are rooted on the motion. So you do have root motion. Nothing can be done until you actually stand up, and you can stand up with all the arrows, or you can keep sitting if you don't press any arrow. So that's working fine. Now we want to fix this collision, because obviously I turn it off so we won't have that junky animation. Because again, if I were to not ignore the pawn, chair collision, so if I were to enable this, here you can see, because the root is somewhere under the chair basically, and it's fighting for space, so that's why it's jumpy and it doesn't work correctly. So we can just do, when we're sitting on the thing, we need to turn off the collision. So on sit down, we're going to create new input, and this one will be static mesh component. I think it is mesh component. Yeah, static mesh component, object reference. This will be chair mesh. We're going to connect it from the chair, because on the static mesh for that little box we do have it turned off. And then on the player, when we start sitting down, we're going to set collision enabled. We do no collision, and then on, I think on stand up it should be fine. We can just do it on the end. So stand up, I'm going to drag it from here. Let's see if that will work. On the mesh, drag it, just in case. Do is valid, and then if it's valid, we will set collision. Set. You need to drag from this thing. Double click, redirect, and set collision enabled. And this one will be physics. Physics and query. Where are you? Collision enabled, physics and query. If it's not valid, and after we go back to reset this, if it's not valid, also reset this, just in case. There we go, compile and save. Now that should turn off the collision on the chair when we sit down, but I still have it off. So chair collision, turn it on. Now we can actually move around the chair, but can't go through it. I sit down, it's working fine. I stand up, and it's working fine. And what this does is it also turns off the interact prompt, which is what we want. We don't want to show it while we're sitting down. So that's perfect. And then, as I said, one more thing, this is just very quick, but then we can just set up regenerating health. So on the player, after we sit down, so yeah, we can do it here on sitting. We can just drag out the stats component. We do have a pretty good setup for it already. We just need to modify max stat, health regeneration, do something like, I don't know, 20. So it will increase the health regeneration by 20. Right, sit down. You can see my health is very low, and now suddenly it's going high up. Also, if you want, you can move the component a little bit further back, because you can see I'm sitting on front of the chair only. But then good thing about it is you can use anything for a chair. You can just select it now. You do have this box, so you don't even need to see the mesh of the chair. And we can just select, I can sit on a chest if I want. So for I don't see it very well, so it needs to be bigger. So, see, I can sit on anything I like, and we can just resize it indefinitely. So that's all fixed. You can do it for rock, absolutely anything you want. Ah yeah, one more thing we need to do is just set up interact prompt, but that's the easy part. In the third person blueprints enums, I'm going to do interact type, add, sit, save, blueprints, widgets. You should already know how to do this, we've done it a million times. So just interact prompt, copy one of these, sit, and then in the chair itself, on begin play, we need to cast to interact prompt. Just get widget, interact prompt, and set interact type to sit. Ah yeah, one more thing, I forgot, we don't want to be behind the chair and sit down, so like this, because you can see we're going through it. It's try to find the position. We want to be only in the front, but for that again we do have a function set up in let's copy it from NPC, that's the default one. So actors, not actors, NPCs, base NPC is this function is in front, copy it, go to chair, paste it. One more thing, we're not actually checking NPC, we can still probably interact with NPC from the behind, we just can't see the interact prompt. So we need to set up variable is in front, like we have in the ladder. Name is already in use. On the chair. Get is in front. I'm not having it in use. In front. Okay. Now is facing chair. Don't know why it doesn't let me. Something's wrong. So here it will be true. Here it will be false. So the rest of the function is the same as we had it set up with the 90 degrees. And then on event graph interact, we'll do branch. And is facing front, is facing chair, true. And false, we don't have to do anything. And then we just need to start it. I think we do it in range. Yeah, so event in range, copy this part, go to interact, go to chair, event in range, start this, and out of range. I'm just going to copy it from here, out of range, hide interact prompt, and clear the timer. Right, so now we should be also checking if we are in the front. So sit, I don't have sit here, I have sit from here to here. There we go, only from the front. If I press here, nothing happens. But that's one thing I noticed, this is what I mentioned. You can still talk to NPC from the behind, we can just add that variable as well. But now, final version, I sit down nicely, I relax, I regenerate my HP, and I can stand up after and just keep running. And you can also, you can set up like some widget that will open where you, I don't know, have some, you can read a quest or some book or like whatever, assign stats or something. We can add that later, something, if you want to have a Dark Souls style. And that is pretty much it. So we're still not preventing like drinking potions on the chest as well, but like these things, like climbing ladder while drinking potion and stuff like that, I'll prevent, because for now you can do it, but I'll do it with the gameplay tags, I think. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.